Alright guys, so in this video we're gonna be talking about another loop, which is while loop, which is also one of the important and most common loop. So before we jump into the while loop, I gave you one exercise to do regarding the for loop. I ask you to print these two things. I have already added a code into our previous lecture. For those who are in the course, let me show you. This is the code. So if I remove all the unnecessary comments and remove that as well. So this is the line to use the escape sequences properly into our code. So we need this command to render this, and also HTML render spaces with nothing. So in order to add the spaces, I have to use this. You see? Now let's talk about our while loop. I'm gonna just remove all this. And here, unlike for loop, the while loop is different. This is the syntax of while loop. While only takes the condition. If you have a situation where you only need a condition to check, you go with the while. For instance, I is equals to 1, and we will gonna say run this while loop until I become or equals to 10. And here we will gonna just say I is $I, and what we were doing as an increment, we have to do it here at the end of all the commands. So what this will gonna do, it will give us a nice PR line. I is 1 2 3 4 5 6 and all the way to 10. So that's a while loop. Now you must be wondering why we use while when we already have a for loop. So basically we use for when we have a certain amount of iteration to follow. For instance, if we go back to our code for the for, you will see we have a certain amount of iteration. We know that this for will gonna run for 5 times, this for will gonna run for 5 times, and also if we even do this, we know that it will gonna have some amount of iteration that it will gonna run for. We cannot do for loop for some condition where we don't know the number of iteration the program will have. In these type of situation, while loop comes in play. Let me give you the example. You have a token. True. Let's suppose you are making a point game. You are asking a user to play for the point, and if he meet the point, you will gonna let him keep playing it. If he do not reach to that point, the game will stop. So in these type of situation, while loops come in, you will let the user play, and this while loop will gonna keep running and check inside that if the condition meet, keep the token value true, and while we're gonna keep running. If the user doesn't meet the condition, that stop the while and game will stop, or whatever the situation and scenario you are running for. For loop, we cannot achieve this because we have to be known that how many number of iteration we have. The situation where you don't know the number of iteration, for example, you are fetching a data from the database where you don't know how many number of data record will be there, and the example that I just gave you right now. So let's go with the record. Since we are not learning about the database right now, I will just gonna take one array, a PHP array, and assume that we have a record coming from database. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. These are the records. These are the IDs of the data that you are retrieving from the database. What we can do, we can use one array here, and we can add one variable here, and we can check if I less than equals to count. Count is a PHP function which take one parameter array, and it counts the number of items into one array. So run the while loop until I become less than equals to count the total number of items. Echo record value is, now to access the index we can use I, because in every step, in every iteration, we are going to increment in I. Save it, refresh. Okay, one thing we forgot to add the PR. Alright, so here we have record 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And why is that? Do you realize something here? If you have checked my previous lectures in which I was talking about the array, PHP always start the array, or any programming language almost start array with the 0. That's why in our program it is skipping the 1. If I start this with 0, save it, refresh here, it is starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Line number 9, it is undefined offset of 10. Because we are using 0, this count will gonna say 10, but our array doesn't have 10. It is only have 9 records, because 0, 1, 2, 3, it is giving the error. So if I say less than, refresh. So now, no matter how many more records I have here, it will gonna keep printing until and unless this condition meet. And the condition is less than, because we have a 0 here. If we had a 1 here, we could say less than equals to, but we have a 0 here, that's why we are saying less than. And this count function returns the number of items. It doesn't care about 0 or 1, so it will just gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Just like a normal person. This function count the number of items, which is 13. So it is returning 13. I is equals to 0. First time, yeah, it is less than 13. For 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way to 13. When it's come to 13, it will gonna add it here, one value into this I, which become 13. And when it come here, it said 13 less than 13. It is not true. Then this while loop will gonna stop. If it is 12 and this is 13, it will gonna play this entire code, or you can say run. So that's the while loop, where you don't know the number of iterations you will gonna handle. For you know, you must actually know how many number of iterations you will gonna run. But for this while, you can set any condition with while. And as I give you the other example where token should be true, run the while loop over and over again until the token become false. So let's give you that example as well. I'm gonna just remove the records over here, get back to the token is equals to true, run the while, this condition get false, run while with token remain true. So we will gonna have a if condition here, and we will gonna set $I is equals to 1, and here we will gonna check dollar. I'm going to add one variable with the name input, and I will gonna place 4. So, and now here we will gonna check if I is equals to input. Just imagine this input value is coming from the user. Right now we don't have to take the value from the user, because that's a different part in which we will gonna work for the forms, and where you will in real lifetime we're gonna take the value from the user. We will gonna discuss that later in the videos. It is the more advanced form, so don't worry about that. Just imagine this input value is coming from the user. We don't know what user will gonna add here, so it is kind of lucky draw function where you will let user have the function keep running, have the program keep running until it reach to the value it have. So here we have set a condition I is equals to input. Then we can set token is equals to false. Otherwise it will just gonna keep echoing numbers. You are at $I. As always, $I plus plus increment. So for instance, user input 4, save it, come back here, refresh. Oh, again I forgot to save it, refresh. So you see the while loop run until it meet the value of 4. For instance, if a user have added 11, save it, it will gonna run until the 11. So you use the while loop where you don't know how many iterations you will gonna handle. For loop, you only use it when you know the certain amount of iterations or number of iterations that you need to use. There is one more thing, break or continue in the loop, which I wanted to discuss you here. So for instance, let's say you don't wanna change the token value here. Instead, you just wanna break the while loop or any loop. Matter of fact, if this condition meet. So you can simply use break function. It is the same function we were using in the switch, which was also just breaking through the entire scope of switch. This is exactly the purpose of break. It break you out of the scope of whatever you are performing. So here we are performing while loop, and as soon as this condition meet, it will gonna break while and take us out of the while. Save it, refresh here. You see now it is 10. It is breaking as soon as this condition is met. It is not even allowing you to run this part and then go back and then check here, because if we were using this, it is only doing the token is equals to false, and then it will gonna let while use and keep processing all the operations that it have. Then at the end it will gonna go back and then check the condition. Otherwise it will gonna keep running whatever we have over here. But what break did, it just break you out of the while right where you write the break. So that's the difference. For instance, you have in a situation where you have to immediately stop the entire process. It will gonna break right away. And there is another one. Let me give you. The keyword is continue. So for instance, if a user add the value 11 and you have a condition, if I remainder 2 is equals to 0. If I remainder is equals to 2, then continue. What does continue do? It, unlike break, it does not take you out of the while or any loop. It just skip all the process, all the operations, and just skip all of it and take you back to the condition. Before continue, we have to add increment over here, so our loop can run again with the new value instead of the same value. Save it. You see what it does? It continue, it escape. In the other words, you can say it skip all this thing and just let the entire while loop start from the next iteration. So the continue means to just go back to the top again. Forget about everything down, just go back to the top to the condition and just redo it. And what this part means, if you remember from our operator lecture, remainder means whatever left out from the division. So the first value is our 1. 1 divided by 2, remainder always 1. 2 divided by 2, remainder becomes 0. So remainder, whenever you divide the value of I with 2 and it remainder becomes 0, then make the loop continue, means go to the top. Forget about everything down. That's in the simple words. So as you can see, all the even number 2, 4, 6, 8 are gone because loop escaped all these things. So this is the while. We're gonna come in next video and we're gonna discuss about do while. Thank you. Bye bye.